Hey, so today I want to show you how I use guide tones to create instant melodic style soloing. And typically, when we think of guide tones, we think of the money notes in a seventh chord, major or a minor seventh chord, or a dominant seventh chord when playing, jazz music or funk music. Like, say, we got a B flat major seven like this. We can take that seven and that three if our bass player is holding down the B flat, right? So I like to think of guide tones also as, if these notes are so important for chords, for chord identity, for chord quality, can we use them in a melodic sense for creating like melodic lines? Now, I'm going to play, let's say, like a B flat major seven chord. And yes, I know my B flat major scale. I know my B flat major seven arpeggio. Now I can play all of those, seven notes in the scale or the four notes in the arpeggio, and I will. But I'm going to try to stay limited and just start my licks with the three and the seven, the guide tone. That'd be the D or the A. D being the third or the A being the major seventh. So I'm going to create a little loop here. Let's just use a B flat major seven chord, a little vamp, and we'll go up to the two chord for a little funky jazzy thing. Right, going up to a C minor seven and falling back down. Mostly just a B flat major seven vamp. And get a little bit of grit on here. So I'm just going to start by playing long notes on top of that, and just seeing how they fall over the chord. Kind of an ear training activity as well. Then I'm going to go up to the lower, or the upper and lower neighbors right next to that. Let's start with the lower. We're going to go from the 3, the D, down to the 2, which is a C, and back up to the D. Then we're going to go up to the E flat, back down to the 3, which is that D. And then similarly, we're going to go to the A, that major 7, a little bit more tension there, a little more color, you could say. I'm going to go down to the 6, which is also a really nice melodic note to start your melodic lines on. And then up to the root, which is just begging for that resolve from the major 7. And then the next thing I want to do is do that same thing in the second octave. Find that major third, lower neighbor, major third, upper neighbor, perfect fourth, down to the major third. Now find that major seventh, find that major sixth, lower neighbor below, back to the major seventh, and then that upper neighbor, which happens to be our tonic, the root of the key and the chord, but then resolve back to that guide tone that I'm looking for. So then there's all sorts of permutations with those groups of notes that I just created. You could go 3, 2, 3, 4, 3, or 3, 2, 4, 3, or 3, 4, 2, 3, or 4, 2, 4, 3, or 2, 4, 2, 3. Right? There's a bunch of permutations that you could come up with, and if you add repeating notes, sky's the limit. But I'm going to put even more grit on this and just kind of solo, starting and ending on those guide tones. Starting on the third, maybe coming up with the line. I'm going to go outside of those permutations, play notes that are in the scale or in the full arpeggio. Everything diatonic to stay kind of within diatonic for now. So, but here we go. In the third. And again, I do like to have long notes kind of settle. Trying to resolve and start with that guide tone. Now let's start it with the 7th up here. be a little dissonant with that major 7th, but I love it. I'm going to combine those two notes with some of my musical motifs. Maybe up the octave. Maybe just only playing those 4 guide tones and seeing what kind of sounds that gives me. You'll notice I get a perfect 5th interval with the 3 to the 7. And that's a pretty interesting sound on top of that major 7th chord. Then a perfect 4th back up to the next 3rd. And that sounds to me pretty interesting. Now, I might not want to just do that, so I'll add in some other notes to the scale and not be so exercise-based. That's pretty cool. That's hitting the upper neighbor of the 7 and then playing with those 2 notes and then resolving back to the 3. Can I do that in reverse? Oh yeah, that's nice. Really nice melody, melodic lines coming out of that. That's outside the box of, I know we overuse that language, but it's outside the commonalities of just running up and down. Or our minor pentatonic down a minor 3rd in G. Now, do any of those notes exist in the minor pentatonic? Well, yeah. The 3rd does. But the major 7th does not, unfortunately, live inside that minor pentatonic, relative minor pentatonic to our B flat major pentatonic. What about a C minor 7? Let's go up to the 2 chord, play some like Dorian kind of groove. Right, establish my scale here, C Dorian. Figure out what, well, let's do pentatonic as well, because that lives inside. Right, that kind of thing. And then what are the guide tones? We got our flat 3rd, E flat, and then our flat 7, our B flat, right? So let's just play those notes kind of in a vacuum, just long notes. Here's the flat 3rd. Sounds real mean on top of that minor 6 kind of amp we got going. There's the flat 7, kind of bluesy, really wants to be pulled up a whole step to our root, just like that minor 3rd, wanted to be pulled down to the 1. All right, so let's look at the top octave, flat 3rd right there, and then flat 7th here. Again, long notes just to kind of establish what that tonality sounds like. over my tonal center of the bass of the groove. And then I'm going to do that upper lower neighbor business. With the minor third, we're going to go flat 3, 2, 4, flat 3. And then for the flat 7, probably one of my favorites is playing the flat 7 to the 6, 1 to the 7, and we'll do it in both octaves. Flat 3, 2, 4, 3, or flat 3, 6, flat 7, 6, 1, flat 7. And then there's all sorts of permutations. Right, then with your flat 7. All sorts of permutations, right? And then what if you play some more melodic lines? Just kind of trying to focus on those two notes. Use those lower neighbors. Bend up to maybe that flat 7. There's your root. Dump the truck. Let people know you know what key it's in. Reward the crowd for their patience with all of your experimentation with these guide tones. And maybe reward them with, a lick. Reward yourself with the lick that's a little bit more familiar. How about one last chord here? Let's do the dominant chord in B flat major, in the key of B flat major, which would be an F7. I'm going to play an F9 just to keep it real funky. Yeah, that's better. All right, first things first, I want to find my F mixolydian. I'm going to stay kind of in the middle of the neck here and play F mixolydian like this. Maybe without all those pull-offs. I know my 6-string roots too. But it's good to know both 6th and 5th string root in 2 octaves. So I'm going to find the thirds. Now the third is similar to major, where it's a major third, my upper neighbor is a perfect 4th, and my lower neighbor is a major 2nd again. So similar kind of sounds to a major 7. But the flat 7, or the 7, is a flatted 7. And it's really similar to, well, it's exactly like Dorian. It's kind of a hybrid between major 7 and a minor 7. This dominant scale of guide tones that we get a flat 7, lower neighbor, major 6, upper neighbor is the octave. Play your long notes. That flat 7 feels real mean, bluesy, really wants to get pulled up to that root. There's your third. There's a little permutation with your upper and lower neighbors. I added the root into that one. What about that flat 7? That's flat 7, 1, 6, flat 7. What about playing those 4 pitches together? Now I get a tritone, right? Which is nice and dissonant. Which to me is like a really modern kind of sound. Sounds great in some funk jazz fusion. Just play those two notes up and down into 3 different octaves. And it sounds like some cool melodic lines, you know, pretty fun. Little chromatic stuff in there too. Anyway, yeah, so the goal is to not only play this stuff, obviously, go back to your roots of playing pentatonic scales, dominant scales, the arpeggio. I don't think I played that. You know, 6th and 5th string root, dominant 7th arpeggios. I don't even know if I played those minor 7th arpeggios. Playing those are just fine. You're the appropriate pentatonic scale that lives inside or on top of those chords. For a Mixolydian, it'd be a major pentatonic. For the minor 7 or minor 6 chords we were playing in Dorian, it'd be a minor pentatonic and then major pentatonic for the major 7th chord as well. But yeah, if you got any questions, you know, throw them in the comments. You know, hit me up if you're interested in taking one-on-one Zoom guitar lessons. I have some slots available. If you're needing some assistance with your guitar life, don't hesitate to give me a call. That number will be in the details of this video below. So thanks so much for watching and take care.